Hello and welcome aboard for a small little video that might be interrupted by people because I'm sitting in the stream room because I'm getting ready for the near stream. Well, not getting ready, but just setting some stuff up. So technically, but we're not doing that for another couple hours. So I figured I'd make a quick video and we'd talk about the Legend of Canar series real quick. Real quick, hopefully. But yeah. So as you guys know, we're working on a spin-off series based on our game, which our game is called Legends of Terrestria. You can see other videos of that, but that's not today's topic. Today we're talking about Legend of Canar, which is the little mini lore series we're working on with the series of our artists from the game project as well as our new composer. And the idea is that this is going to be like a lore series, and we're going to have art narrated, and it's going to be like this cool thing, right? It's an introduction to the world of Terrestria. Now this takes place 1,000 years before the start of the game, because the game starts in the year 1022 AE. This is like 32 BE, if I remember right, is the start time date, and it runs, to like a while. I can't say when exactly because I don't actually know that yet. We're still working on the actual end date for the thing, and says I adjust the Chronos, which the Chronos is always in works until things are finally done. So yeah, the Legend of Canar series. Here we have some concept arts that I'm going to be sharing. That we have two artists currently working on the project on the side. That would be our main artist who's working on the characters, or is Indio at the moment, while Sal is working on the characters for the game. Sal's just their primary concept artist, so he's working on all the game's assets. So that's more important. This is by Indio. Indio's doing the character designs with help from Carlos, and Carlos is also helping do the other concepts and environmentals. Um, but yeah, that's kind of that. So here we have a younger version of Canar. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to tell you guys this is going to be a little bit spoiler laden. So if you're not interested in that kind of information, please leave now because you don't want to know this kind of stuff. Now, just also bear in mind that if you do hear stuff here, that these things are subject to change because we are in a state of flux when it comes to the writing point right now. Like I'm working with chunking. If you're not familiar with what chunking is like you take lower sections, like for example, Canar and like his relationship with his younger sister and his older siblings and how he that sort of stuff. That's called like a chunk. Like let's say there's like some sort of development with like his like an older sibling or his older brother, that would affect certain things or something like that. And that would be called a chunk, and then I would connect it with a series of other chunks that have a bunch of ideas. Or like, for example, let's say Canar does something in a battle against a particular noble because of something that occurred prior. So that's another chunk, and then you thread those chunks together. But so that's kind of where we're at now. Now, some of the chunks have already started to be threaded, but it's also in a state in which those threads can be undone and rebound as need be. Basically, the idea of threading is just connecting ideas together so that they come in a sequential order. They're all, back to back to back back. And why did this happen? Why did Canar do this? And how did that affect his character? Like, for example, this picture here versus the Civil War image of Canar, and or like the different ages of Canar, like that he goes through, the different points in his life and things that he endures and his changes to his character that are made. And we also want those to be represented and the various characters. Canar is the one getting the most work out of anything. Second only to the old Starborn, not the old Starborn. I'm an idiot. Talking faster than my brain's thinking, and that's not very fast. It's low compute today because we've been working for quite a while and I have a lot more work to do. But yeah, so like this is second only to the gods. The gods in this period get a lot of art, despite not having too much to do with the Legend of Canar directly, but they're more background figment thingies. And then we have Carlos and working on characters and stuff and other things. Like the thing with Canar, the biggest challenge is we have to redo everything. So it's not like, just doing 1022 AE stuff for the Astrian Empire, like their military, their uniforms, because a lot of these orders, it's been 1,000 years, and this is back in the Republic era, before the rise of the kingdom and before the Empire. So, like, Astria went through three major, like, governing, like, changes. They've started originally as a city-state, technically, which we're not covering in Canar, because that's before then. That's 300 years before that. It's like 360 BE. We're in 34 BE, right at the turn of the Enlightenment. which is going to be taking place in the Canar series, which is a big deal. It's the religious reformation and the birth of the Starborn Pantheon, and that whole thing starts, and that reforms the religion, and that's also one of the causes of the big civil war. So we have to do the old Celestial Order and all their designs, because the old Celestial Order is before Canar started to implement changes, and even his changes that would, if we did all of them in this series, would not be the modern Astrian Celestial Order, because the modern Celestial Order is very different than even what Canar had envisioned, because his reformations would be changed and altered by his descendants throughout the 1,000 years of Allen reign. So it's going to be a hefty work. I'm not intending to do all those eras, but that would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's already, the Canar series is, people always ask how much it's gone up to. Canar series is easily like a small project, a meager project, maybe $20,000. Hopefully. I don't really want it to exceed that budget, because it's supposed to be actually a mini-series, a very short thing. But it's likely to exceed that, because the amount of art assets required is astronomical. We might get an episode of it done. But yes, doing the High Priest and the various parts of the Order, because in the old Celestial Order, things worked very, very differently. I'm not going to go into too much details about how they worked, because, again, it's the whole idea is that that's to be sort of discovered. That stuff I already know. But you can see the different High Priests, because the Order works very differently in this. Like, one thing I can tell you, though, is the modern Celestial Order is themed around the idea that it is almost subservient to the ruling Valen. Now, even when Canar took over the Astrian Kingdom, or, well, Republic, and reformed it into the Kingdom of Astria, it didn't quite go to that immediately, though he started to enact more stricter controls and things like that. It's always something to remember. You gotta start weaning down the opposition, and Canar couldn't quite even do that in his lifetime, even though he was a legendary character, which is why we're doing the Legends series. It's following a series of legends. Now, if this series is successful, we'll do other legends, not just from Astria. We'll do the King of Ulner, or the Koeniger of Ulner, which he is by far probably one of the coolest, or maybe the great king of the Luminarians and the Great Calamity. That would be a spectacle. That would be a spectacle. Or the War of the Five Emperors. Oh, that would be crazy. That one would be too expensive. There are way too many characters in that one. God, and we're working on the gods here. Carlos is doing a lot of heavy work with the gods in the Old Celestial Order. So we got Thorgos, the martial goddess, or god. Sorry, misgendered him. He's gonna throw a fit. And we're working on the celestial beings and other entities that fight or work for these things. Senatorian guards, which are the senator guards. They guard the Senate of the Republic, if you could call it a Senate, if you could call it a republic, more like an oligarchy. And then just another aspect for death. Soldiers. The hard thing was coming up with like the older designs, right? Because this is at the point in which iron is considered legendary weapons at this point. In Mixer's lore, we classify equipment based on its era that it was made, or era when it was made, and depending on its quality and power level. So to this culture, iron would be legendary equipment, mostly because they all use bronze. So if you're not familiar with bronze, this is something I want to have in the battle art displayed, is after a couple thwacks with these guys' swords against an enemy combatant, these swords will start to bend. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate. And I have to thwack them back into position. Or pick up someone else's things. That's why spears are a little bit more favored in this point. Most armies were generally spear-based, especially in Astria at this point, and most armies still do use spears in favor of the spear. The sword arm is generally, or the sword is generally a secondary weapon. And then more concept art of God, some of the nobles. So we got the different classes, because we had to work on the different classes. The Schism, the Queen of the Gods, and then her husband, King Arestios, and his servant. I do like theirs the most. It's such a shame. All these gods are going to be, well, not all, but a lot of them are dead, because the birth of the Starborn Pantheon and the War in the Heavens took place as well during the Legend of Canar. And that'll also be represented here. This is some other sketches done by Carlos. Some of the buildings. This is the... crap. There's so many buildings now. Like, there used to be only like a handful that I had to memorize the names of. This one is in Helios, and this is the religious building for the Celestial Temple Masters. And they go here to hold hearings and things like that, which are only religious people are let inside this temple, if you can call it that. It's more like the council. Technically, I think it's called the Council of Helios, actually. These buildings actually still, some of them actually exist today. Not all of them, though. Some of them were torn down, some of them were destroyed in the Civil War, some of them were destroyed in the Astro-Crimson Wars, which are basically, you could equate those to the Punic Wars of old, except these ones are continental, so they took place over a multitude of continents. And the Punic Wars did too, technically. Yeah, you could say that. See, it is kind of similar. There you go, bam. Except it also was during the age when they found Avogaria, and that is a big deal, because that's like the equivalent of finding America, except that happened a really long time ago. The Chamber of Helios, yes. And we have architects working on the design of the building. Fortunately, we have a lot of architects in our project who are former architects, Sala, Carlos. And so they've been coming up with how the structure would actually be supported and how it actually works. So, it is a bit of a fantasy structure. If it doesn't hold up, you'll kind of know why. Some of the younger children and stuff like that. These are the earlier concepts of Odessa. She is, we went with more of that little mirror thing because we thought that was a cooler design. And then we started naming the artifacts and stuff like that. So that is a wrap on that. Now, we do have a lot of new people here, so I'm not just going to wrap it fully there, because I do know some new people joined the community and have also subscribed, and they're probably like, you guys are making a game? Yeah, we are making a video game. I've been doing it off and on for 16 years. Only in the last couple of years have we actually truly started, in my opinion. And the amount of money invested has been astronomical. Like 70 or 60%, I believe. I can't remember. I did the math a long time ago. Of my paycheck every month goes into the game. The rest of that goes into, food, basic living stuff. And a little bit of extra money on the side for personal stuff. Personal things like, video games for streams, or for perhaps a, what's a word? Emergency money, for like when my door broke, except I've not put any money aside for that, and I instead have just dumped it into the game lately. There we go. So here is one of the maps that we had worked on. This is an older version, but here's Astria. This is not the geopolitical map. The actual map file is like over 30 gigabytes big, and that's not because it's a particularly large image. It actually has to do with the fact that there's over like 10,000 or 3,000 layers of different layers, and those layers represent different political maps and things like that between the different kingdoms or various infrastructure levels, so I can sort of determine what each culture has, or the tectonic plates, the air currents, the water currents, where the heat map is, so why water is pushing that way, and where the currents would be, where natural trade lanes are, things like that. That kind of information became really helpful for putting the planet together. I blame Bubbles for the tectonic plate, and the heat map, and the water map, and the air map. That's his fault. But hey, it helped determine that Karinos would be a very dry continent, and Vatsti got to be soggy wet, which actually allowed for the river cities to be born. Isn't that fun? So it's kind of cool. Like, the world building process for this took what, like 3 months? 2 months? I mean, we went super hard and Tizami on it. Some of the stuff's a little out of date, because we've had to do some reformations to certain aspects. Like the technological reformation, the Celeste update and the recent Calamity update have both changed magic and how the laws of magic work and the science behind it. Because magic in Terrestria is much more science than it is magic, generally. I'm trying to pull up some Vigigame art real quick. Vigigame. There we go. Alright, I'll pull that up. I also need to look for things that don't have big peepees on them. Because this is in the age of, no, well, not an age, but it's a very pre-Puritan society, so, like, statues having big peepees and stuff and titties do not really matter. But YouTube cares about that. Here is the Great House of Vala. These are the descendants of Canar. Fun fact. Very, very, very down the line. But they do have a little bit of a similarity in some aspects. Though they started to intermingle with Magi, so, you know, that's always interesting. When you start breeding with Illumine, you don't, it doesn't go away. But yeah. So the game we're working on is a turn-based tactical role-playing game. That does wrap up everything for the Canar series that I want to talk about. Other news on that front on the Canar series is pretty much that it's in development and we're making headway on it again, which is good. Well, there was about a week and a half where I wasn't really able to make headway because I was taking care of my dad, and so we weren't able to get anything done, and that was unfortunate because I wanted to keep working on the game. I kept working on it. That's actually where the Calamity lore update came from. That I have to translate again from Kibian because none of the co-writers can understand it. Damn it. They got about 50% of it correct. 50%, which is pretty good. I wrote it in a text pad while I was working about like 14 hours then on top of the 4-hour streams, which wasn't too bad. It's pretty normal. Now we're back to a more healthier schedule of 10-hour work days every day of the week, 7 days a week. Plus 4 hours of streaming minimum, or so. Technically 3 to 4. So that's down, but we're back to working 14 hours a day. That's not too bad. We're back to normal, healthy operating hours. Ever since last year. I hate it. Oh, if only things could go somewhat back to the way they were before, because then I could get more of the bigger lore stuff done. Like the Celeste update. That was one of the biggest updates that I ever did. Or the tech update. That was nice. The dissemination of choo-choo technology. Bye-bye, choo-choos. And the return to antiquity. Glorious. Glorious antiquity. And then climbing out of antiquity again. That's kind of like how Astria worked, because Astria very much started off as like, we was Weemans, and then it was like, we was Greek, and it was like, we was Greek and Weemans, and now it's like, we was Greek and Weemans with Cretans and Cypricians and Persians, and now it's like, we's Astrian. I can't even disseminate what they are anymore. They're like their own little hodgepodge thing. That's how long it normally takes to make something somewhat unique. But it's all in the execution, because everything's always been done. And the best way to take influence or inspiration from anything is from life itself, which is why we did a lot of historical research. Research! Can't enunciate or pronunciate words today. But yes, our game is coming along quite well. And for new people, like here's a structure that we have working on. We've been making some progress. It's a little bit slower lately because it's been busier, but we generally post it pretty frequently. Not a lot's been posted because the Canar series is taking up a lot of resources, which is agitating. But it is a colossal project, as a project goes. Like, I guess the closest thing to equate it to something that some of the Arch subs who've come over here would be like one of Arch's, like the Vrack series. Imagine that, though, a little bigger. It's a little tismy, because a lot of it has to be made. It's not like we can just read a book and be like, okay, because that's already done. Because that's how Arch does. He reads a book, and the book has all the lore, and then he gets custom art for it and stuff like that. And that's pretty easy peasy. Well, that's not really easy peasy, but it's more time consuming, but it can get it done. Here we have to make it, write it, construct it, format it, then make it a digestible form, unlike the lore for the game, which mostly is being done well, we're trying to start doing it in a more bullet point manner, because it's not meant for user consumption. This isn't meant for user consumption either, so it's not being constructed in such a way that it's meant for the user base to be consumed. However, it is being constructed in a way that it can be digested and processed by a quote-unquote user, which will be Arch, because Arch needs to consume it to understand it. So that's the idea. So it has to be constructed a little bit more cleanly. And that's why it's also taking a lot longer. Because in order to construct lore on this scale like that requires serious hours. And the problem is getting those hours and getting that time to do it. And as the lead writer, like, I need to do all of it and then have the supporting writers refine it. Because they can't do anything until I get shit done. And so it's on me to do stuff. So I gotta get to work hard and work harder. You can see Sal drew little edits there. But that kind of wraps up today's little update. The game's making some serious headway. Awesome. Things are looking very, very good. Very good. Today's a meeting. Yes, the 25th. A developer meeting takes place today. That's also why I want to do this, because I'm also getting stuff ready, because this is actually all lined up for me to basically just talk about what art progress we've made this month, because, or not this month, but we do bi-weekly team reports, so I need to talk to the team members and be like, hey, here's the amount of progress we made, blah, 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 and then the other departments report in their sections, and they're like, programming teams like, we made X amount of progress on this, and then we're like, good, and then the musician sounds off, like, here's compositions, check them out. And then we're like, good, or make tweaks. And the artists don't have to do this. I do it for them because I'm pseudo art directing as well as lead writing, as well as being the director as well. Because we can't find anybody who can art direct, or nobody wants to, and that's fine. That's fine. I can handle it. I'm totally sane right now. Yeah, my brain is scattered, but I'm hanging in there, barely. I'm about ready to have a meltdown. I was the other day. I was just, I don't know. Things are heavy lately. Very heavy. We're hanging in there, though. We're hanging in there. Getting lots of rest, eating lots of food, surviving. Just need to get through this. Just have to hang on a little longer. See, making your own game, making your own IP is something that is amazing. And as somebody who's had a lot of experience working on it now, I can say it's the best thing I've ever done, but I would probably never recommend this to anybody for your own sanity. I used to have such a good memory, and I used to not be scatterbrained. It changes you. It does. Like, you change when you do this. And once you change, you can't unchange. That's something that you do need to know. But it's a great thing. At least I like to tell myself it's great. It might not necessarily be great. So, as bonus material, we had some cool art commissioned by another artist, Celeste, who's another character of ours. Don't ask why she has a Bren gun. That's totally not, you know, anything. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Here we have Rhea. There's more art and more stuff can be found in the Discord server. If you're interested in talking or asking questions, you can join our Discord server. Our Discord server is in the description, by the way, and there's more art posted in this section here. Early access stuff is posted here, so if you've ever donated, you'll get access to this room. You don't even need to have donated much. It's not like a one-time thing or anything like that. It's a lifetime thing. So even if you donated before, and the reason why I mention that is because there's like 10 or 12 people now that haven't gotten in access to that room and that are totally eligible for that room because they've given me $1 or more or whatever. And you get lifetime access to it forever. So if you've done it and you've just sort of forgotten on collecting on it, just check your email where you donated and then just send me the receipt in my DMs or bubbles. You just black out your name or whatever, and then we'll give you access to the room and you'll get it forever. And that way, and if you, I don't know. See, we've never had any of the donators ever break rules and get banned, like the pretenders. The pretender ranks are people who donate $100 dues because they're insane. But realistically, there's people who've donated thousands now. Multiple now. Multiple. I just stopped making ranks, honestly. But yeah, I do want to give you guys special access to that room because I do want you guys that did do that, like, it's going to be more than just art and, like, early access stuff or, like, private questions and stuff. You can also ask, or not ask, but you're going, well, you can. But we're going to be doing early access stuff for the game. And people who have supported, even if they donated like $1 or something like that, will get to participate in that. We need testers, but we need a limited amount at first because we need to figure things out, you know? A closed test group to figure out problems with the game, bugs, things like that. What things click, what things are hard to read, what things are hard to understand, what's kind of annoying, things like that. And so if you've done that, please join the Discord server. Even if you haven't, we will open up to public testing, so you don't actually have to donate to eventually test it. The people who have will get to test it a lot earlier when it's ready, specifically. It'll be in a lot rougher state for them, though, because it's going to be before things are properly covered with proper assets. Like, if you notice this UI that we had Salah, our lead concept artist, make for the stream here, that's an example of some of the quality levels you're going to be expecting. Like, you're going to see top-of-the-line stuff, nothing less. The best animations, the best art, the best music, the best sound we can do. We don't have a sound engineer, but we'll figure it out. One problem at a time. It might just be placeholder sounds for a bit. Finding a sound engineer may take some time. Look at Chubby Man. Embrace the Tubby Man. But yes, we will open up to beta testing. People can come on board and test it. And why do I want people to come on board? Because I'm going to need everybody I can possibly get. If you don't intend to donate or don't have the money to donate, there's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. That's awesome. Being interested is more than enough. It's more than I could ever ask for. And if I could ask one more simple little itty-bitty thing, if you're interested, join the Discord server. Just hang around until we're going to get to beta one day. It'll be a while, though. Like, it's not going to be soon, so you don't do it, like, now or anything. And I'll make an announcement on YouTube, so you can just wait there if you want. But just consider helping us out with the project, like on the beta side, because testing is so helpful. And we'll be accepting volunteers for that kind of stuff, because we're going to need all the help we can get. Finding bugs, crushing those little shitty bugs, and figuring out what problems, what's wrong with the UI. Is something not readable? Is something clunky? Or is there something that's just about the game that needs to be tweaked? And we'll do whatever it takes to make it work. We can't do it without you guys. Because there's not enough of us in-house testing. Well, everyone on the team is trying to test it in-house. But there's like only 14 developers. So, like, that's not a lot of people. We're going to miss bugs. There's no way we're going to catch them all. The only way we can catch them all is if we find them through more people testing and doing things to try to break the game. So we can find them, crush them, stamp them out, fix all the bugs, polish up the game, and then proceed to the next stage. The reason why this matters now is because we're actually getting closer and closer to finalizing the combat build. The combat build is intended to be tested at some point by closed testers at some point down the line. I'm not sure if we'll be able to reach that point this year, but there's a good chance if our schedule is maintained that we might actually make it. Maybe. Hopefully. We'll see. But if that date does come by, that would be grand. So then I can stop having to test them. Then I can start dedicating more time to working on other things in the game. Like writing the lore, writing the characters, and helping design the characters, and stuff like that. The less tasks I can remove off myself, the better, because I'm stretched a little thin right now. That's why it's been taking me a long time to get around to doing stuff, so hopefully we'll get back to normal in that regard. And thank you guys again, by the way, for all the donations you have been giving, and all the support you've been giving as well. It's made a lot of difference. It's helped me get through this very difficult time with just working to death. It's not been easy. It's been actually pretty hard. But it's been made a lot better by the good friends we had and just people on Discord server I can just hang out with when I need to just decompress. I know I get a little bit grumpy at times, a little bit, what's the word? Boomy? I don't know. I've not actually gotten mad at anybody lately. That's surprising, considering. Reports are coming up, though, okay? That's something that needs to be said. Reports are coming up. I will be grumpy soon, though. It's almost that time of the month, guys. Time of the month. It's coming. I do like how they voted it to be a unit. Yes, this. Therostocles, the fifth, is a unit, an absolute unit. Some of you guys' like fan theories that you guys have come up with in there, or the just stuff you say about the characters is great. It's absolutely fantastic. people seeing, okay, fine. Fine, one bonus thing. You technically didn't get to see this, but you will. Technically, you got a chance to see it, but this hasn't been released outside the Chamber of Squeakrits. This is hilarious, okay? I don't know why I find this hilarious. Cash just did this, and I found out about it because I looked in there, and it's like, what's she doing there? So there's Celeste in a basket, and it just looks bad because she's in a basket. There's an axe on right next to it. And I do love the responses people said, like, being adorable, waiting to be protect. Had a very dark thought there. See, that was the thing I had, too. Oh my god. Basket Celeste. Emergency food. Interesting. Emergency food. Cannibals. There's tomatoes. I thought that was funny. This has also been a good decompress for me, but I have lollygagged 30 minutes, and that was the limit I set for myself for this little video, so time for me to go back to work. I'll see you guys later. Thank you guys again for all the support you guys have done, and hopefully we're going to start resuming posting more art on the Discord server and post them more regularly on the YouTube community section, because now I'm moved back to my apartment because I helped my dad recover fully, and he's able to take care of himself again. So now I can finally resume work at normal capacity without having to juggle the entire company by myself while also trying to do YouTube and the game. Now he's actually able to do his side of the company, and I can do mine, and that has actually made things possible to get done again. So yeah, thank you guys again. Have yourself a fantastic day, and we'll see you later in today's near stream, which probably might go on very soon by the time this video is posted. Either way, goodbye, guys. We'll see you later.